Jelu, also known as Devil's Bane, is a major character in the Heroes of Might and Magic series. A tragic hero, on the one hand, Jelu is responsible for some of Erathia's greatest moments in its history, while on the other, he is also responsible for its destruction. As an infant, Jelu was mysteriously discovered by Morgal Kendall, an Erathian general. Jelu was essentially born into the military, rising through the Erathian ranks as he grew older. He was the youngest person in history to graduate from the Forest Guard, and later, by implementing his own creation, the Bow of the Sharpshooter, the Forest Guard became an elite sharpshooter force. Jelu's first task as a recruit was the assembly of the Elixir of Life, a powerful artifact with great healing abilities. A vampire lord posing as elven nobility tricked Jelu into believing that it would be used to heal lovely seals, but it was later revealed that the Dacian lords were poised to destroy it. The mastermind behind this treachery turned out to be Sandro the Necromancer, who later on poisoned the vampire lord in order to cover his tracks. Jelu had killed thousands of innocents to obtain that elixir, and when he found out the truth, he felt greatly distressed by the atrocities he had unwittingly committed. Under the orders of King Nicholas Griffonheart, Jelu sought out the druidess Gem, who had also been battling at the Dacian frontier. Teaming up with the barbarian heroes Crackhack and Yogg, Jelu and Gem managed to defeat Sandro and end the power of his cloak and armor. By defeating Sandro, Jelu atoned for his past atrocities. He now became the captain of the Forest Guard, but at a really heavy cost. Serving as captain of the Forest Guard, Jelu achieved several momentous victories for his homeland and for the sake of the world, eventually becoming exalted among the people of Andagorich as the so-called Elven Hero. Following Sandro's defeat, Jelu partook in the Restoration Wars, now the undisputed leader of the Forest Guard. However, a chain of events incited by the Kriegans led him upon a corrupting path for personal glory, which eventually resulted in his downfall and, ultimately, the destruction of Enroth. When the king of Eofor, Lucifer Cregan, decided to reforge the Armageddon's blade and use it to set the world on fire, the Elemental Lords joined forces with Erathia to stop him. As captain of the Forest Guard, Jelu partook in this offensive, as he joined forces with Catherine Ironfist, and together they defeated Xeron, Lucifer Cregan's general, and obtained the blade. They later used that very same weapon against the king of Eofor, ending his life. Fearing that the blade's corruptive powers would control the mind of her husband, Roland Ironfist, Queen Catherine reluctantly entrusted the Armageddon's blade to Jelu, who became its keeper. Power is often corruptive, and Jelu had increasingly suffered from delusions of grandeur while wielding the Armageddon's blade. Some years later, Jelu declared his intentions to travel to his motherland of Wori, with the support of the armies of Avli and Erathia. With the support of his brethren and his lieutenant, Ufretin, he intended to destroy the Sword of Frost, but failed to realize the full measure of his acts, as it was foretold that if these two great swords would ever crash, the world would end. The immortal hero, Tarnum, under the guidance of the ancestors, desperately mastered an iron army to stop his former friend. Furthermore, Kisha, the third wife of King Kilgore, wanted to obtain the Sword of Frost and present it to her husband as a gift, ensuring that her sons would be made heirs to the throne of Krelod. The three rivals raced to the Sword of Frost in Voli. Tarnum defeated the barbarian woman Kisha and captured Jelu's lieutenant Ufretin. He managed to persuade Ufretin to convey to Jelu the folly of his cause, but in vain. As the Armageddon's blade drew closer to the Sword of Frost, the sway that it held over Jelu was increasing and could not be undone. In the end, Kisha became the victor, as he sneaked into Woli unnoticed and departed home to Adagarich with the Sword of Frost in hand. The sword was presented to Kilgore, who subsequently started a war with enormous consequences. Disregarding Tarnum's warnings, Zelu returned to the continent and carried Armageddon's blade into battle against Kilgore, now desperate to destroy its counterpart. The two leaders were evenly matched, and came to a stalemate, clashing Armageddon's blade and the Sword of Frost. As it was foretold, a great blast ensued, killing both the heroes, marring the world and displacing the people of Enroth. Ultimately, no one can escape his fate, as Zelu consummated Lucifer Cregan's goal, setting the world on fire by instigating the Reckoning. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, make sure that you subscribe and leave a comment below to let me know what other parts of Heroes lore you would like to be explored next. Cheers!